Hello and welcome back to another Lap Go video. My name is Bart and today we'll be taking the FIA 4-car and iRacing around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Here's my hot lap. Alright, heading down the main straight now at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. So, moving on to the left-hand side of the track nice and quickly because we were holding the right-hand side line there to get the shortest run to the line. Braking for turn 1 for the source. Braking reference is basically where this orange marker is on the this orange painted gap in the fence on the left-hand side. Somewhere between the 50-meter board, usually about 70, 75, 80 meters, something like that. Make sure it's very hard on the brakes. It's slightly uphill, more uphill than it appears. As you can see here, I'm hitting really high brake pressure. Down to second gear, get the car down to a really low speed. Definitely wouldn't go any tighter than this. On this occasion, we get right into the curb. I'm able to pick up the throttle very early and actually use the curb to rotate the car. If you're not going to drive it like this, you can also go a bit deeper and probably get a slightly better, a slightly squarer exit. But on this lap, this was quite quick as well, just using the curb to rotate the car on the inside. That's probably an extreme example of how you can do that. Otherwise, I would definitely let the car run out a bit more. But on this occasion, this worked quite well, just because I was able to kind of rotate the car a bit faster around the corner. In terms of track limits here, I don't use all of them on this lap, but you can run up until your right tires are on the edge of the white strip just over here. All right, so move back to the right-hand side. Pretty much always recommend this, not super aggressively, but just do it to shorten the distance. I'm going to be on the right-hand side anyway for when we turn up a rouge. Left here, I know it's flat, it's easy flat in this, but it's still worth a bit of time. Try to line up your left tires. You only if you put the floor over this, you bottom out, so just put your left tires on the red and white. Try and get your car in a straight line up here towards where the rubber is, and then gently turn with as little lock as possible and try to reduce the steering over the top of the hill. Reduce the steering now, come off the steering. Again, we don't want to run our floor over the middle there because it's not really great in a Formula car. Just run the left tires over the red and white, over the kind of crest of the curb. Let the car run out. Do not run on the right-hand side. Do not drop a wheel there. That will slow you down. All right, use that camera a bit nicely. Come off the steering. And just chill out because we're on the Campbell straight. The source is coming out next, super tricky corner. Heavy braking zone into a combination corner. braking just after the start of the curb, or I should say about halfway down the start of the curb. So reference-wise, you have that little orange dot. So you've got the orange gap in the barriers on the right-hand side, but you also have this little orange square here on the left and where this bit of fencing ends as well. Make sure you're braking on the flat part of the curb. I know some people like to brake on this bit. I don't. Just brake on this bit because it's just tarmac that's painted for some reason. I don't know why it does. Obviously, it doesn't look anything like the current track, so I can't tell you why. Braking here, very hard brake, but very short. So slam on the brakes, about 80, 70%, something like that. Quickly down to fourth gear. Bleeding out, just we turn in, very easy to lock up into here. So you have to be hard initially, then control. But if you can be late, you gain so much time. It's all about carrying speed, being aggressive on the entry here. Get the car hooked over the right-hand side curb. I don't fully get hooked up onto this ledge, but I still do a pretty good job. I get the right tires at least on the red and white, which is good. Get a little bit of throttle on between the two, just to kind of settle the rear down, position the car in here, then lift as you go into the left. That'll help turn the car in. Use all this left-hand apex curb. Full throttle once you get hooked up on that. Now you want to be trying to keep it flat all the way through here if you can. So work it back to let the car run out to the right a little bit, get it back to the left as much as possible. You should not be able to get back to the white line. We don't have enough power for this to be. We want to keep this flat, but we want to keep this flat while carry as much speed as possible through that previous section. That's the simple way to look at the column. This is flat always. And with that in mind, how much can I carry through the right and the left, and how much can I push that braking zone? So we work the car back to the left as much as possible, get into the right. I'd rather you turned a little bit early for this rather than too late. If you turn too late, you kind of just understeer off and you go over the exit curb. If you get it just right, you'll kind of clip the this red and white curbing or get into the camber nicely. You see here I'm maybe fractionally early, but it does help me hook the car up in the apex curb. It's just that in the F4 car, that can cost you maybe 100th or two just because you're curb riding a bit. But it does keep me off the exit curb, which is nice. Watch out here for track limits is easy to get if you run like the middle of the car where the green is. All right, keep the car on the left-hand side now, down the hill into Bruxelles or Rivage. Braking hard, again, not very long. Braking reference is kind of, there's a way the shape of the curb changes here. It's not a very good reference, I know, but it kind of changes when it goes downhill. You can see there's kind of like two profiles of the curb and it kind of joins up around here. So this is kind of my reference, just after the start of the curb pretty much. Braking hard. Down to third gear, probably not too aggressive on the gear changes, just to not upset the car. As you can see, it was a heavy brake initially. Then I bled off quite quickly because I have to turn in at this point. Otherwise, I'm still just going to go off into the gravel over here. Turn in, reduce distance, go towards the white line. Still braking a little bit, trailing the brake in down to third gear. Going to test your trail braking a lot here. So trailing the brake for a long time into the corner just to keep the weight on the front axle and keep slowing the car down so we can brake nice and late into the corner. As soon as you clear the brake, you can see there, straight to throttle as early as you can in this car. Try and be smooth on the steering. If you get snaps, it's usually because you brake too early and because you've got too much steering on, so just be aware of that. Or maybe you were too quick to get to full throttle. Let the car run out. Work the car all the way back. You should be able to get the right tires up onto the entry curve here. If you're not, then rethink how you're doing that previous section. Prepare the car here. Should just be a lift. I think on the first lap or two when the tires are cold or if the setup's a bit understeery, you might need a brake a little bit depending on conditions. But in the right conditions with the right setup, or I think, honestly, once you get a few laps to warm up the tires, you should be just lifting through here. So pretty much lifting all the way up. Get the car, left tires on the red and white or in the camber here is good. If you go over the inside curve, it's not ideal in this car. It can help to rotate, but it kind of bounces it a little bit. So I'd rather just use all that softer bit of curving. Back to full once you're on that inside curb. Run the car out. You can run out until your tires are at the edge of the red and white pretty much. Get the car back over before the curb ends. Easy getting off track, being lazy there. Bring the car back over to the right-hand side now. Use this entry curbing if you're feeling brave and to pull on. I don't want to brake too hard on this, but you can use it to open up the corner as I do here. Soft brake now. Get the car pointed in. You see I'm pulling towards this gap in the barrier at this point. Soft on the brakes. Down to fifth gear. Again, it doesn't have to be the earliest gear change because we don't want to kill the momentum. You're going to meet the apex pretty much at this point here. You see the curb ends here, about halfway round the first part of the curbing. Pick up throttle. See, it wasn't that fast. Just squeezing the throttle on as quickly as I could get it on. Letting the car run out to the edge of the curb. Now bring the car back. Important to be smooth in the steering here. Smooth the steering, let the car run out. Easy to hold the steering and lose time. Bring the car back over to the left-hand side now for Fagner or Piff Paff. This section, really important to brake late, okay? If you don't brake late in the first part of this section, you're in trouble because you'll end up out of position, okay? If you brake early, you'll get on throttle early at this bit, you'll understeer, and you'll make the next left-hander much tighter for yourself. So it's important here to push your braking, okay? So initially, a very hard hit, braking just after the start of the curb on the left-hand side, as late as you dare. See, high pressure, but not for very long. If I held the pressure, I lock up, or quite often here you have an unstable rear on the entrance to the corner. Come off the brakes, brake quite deep. Look at the angle I get now. Rotate the car down to 4th gear. Car gets turned. Now I'm hooked up towards the second part of the apex curb on the right-hand side. I can always hang on to the white line all the way around. This is where you want to be position-wise. Full throttle. Then only if the part lift through this section. We don't want to have to brake, okay? Just a part lift. Should be able to keep some throttle on. Either use the inside curb to hook the car up, or if you feel like you've got enough rotation, just go up to the white line here. Squeeze on the throttle now on the exit. Careful here. Easy again off track again. As long as you have your left tires on the red and white, you're all good though. Get the car back over to the left-hand side. Braking now. Use all the entry curb here. I know it's not flat. It's not ideal. Just try to be softer on the curb and wait till you actually get onto it before you brake. Braking on the entry to Stabilo now. Soft brake. Bleed out nicely. Pick up throttle. Either using the inside curb or again all the way into the camber. Important here to carry lots of speed in this car. It understeers a lot in 4th gear, I find. So make sure you're braking late enough with enough pressure. If you feel like you're understeering, if you're not locking up, then it's because you're braking too soft, you're turning in early, you're carrying too much speed, and it just feels like that. So try to delay the rotation a bit. All right. Get on throttle now, full throttle. Keep your right tires on the red and white, and you'll stay legal here. Bring the car back over. This second part Stabilo is really easy, and this car just be smooth on the steering. We don't need to use the curbs. Don't worry about the curbs there. Keep the car on the right-hand side. This reduces the distance now on the run-up to Blanchamont. Straighten the wheel. We don't need to hang on to the right line anymore. Go to the left again. Shorten the distance. Reduce the steering lock. Open up Blanchamont as much as possible. Easily flat for us. There we go. Not even a corner. Don't need to use the curb, so don't touch it. Just slow you down. Bring the car back over towards the left-hand side of the track now. Braking with your tires parallel to the white line, left-hand side. Max pressure at this point, as hard as you can brake just before the start of this curbing is pretty much your reference. You can see the 50-meter board's over there, but braking just before the start of the curb is a good reference, about 10 meters before, say like 80 meters. Very quick down the gears here, okay? Like really rifle through the down changes here just to get as much engine braking as possible for this heavy braking zone. Heavy braking down to 2nd gear. You see, as soon as I want to turn in, it's gone from really, really aggressive, holding the brake very, very hard, to quickly off, rotate in. No halfway house here. No like, and then locking up on the entry. Like, it's easier to kind of go in early and kind of creep towards the inside of the corner. Make sure we're straight, doing the braking, and we're only doing braking. Then once we want to rotate the car, we come off the brake and we rotate the car. Don't mess about. Rotate the car. Try and use all the curve you can. Ideally, don't hit the sausage curve. It's going to happen sometimes. If you run a bit deep, it's not too bad either. You can gain a lot of time on the entry here. But ideally, on iRacing, this inside curb rotates the car heaps if you can use it without touching the sausage. So aim for that. Like that one. Pick up throttle. As soon as you get onto this curb, you should be able to pick up throttle pretty much because the car should like hook up on it. You can see here, it almost pulls the rear of the car around, actually helps rotate the car. Get to full, dash just for a little bit, then tap on the brake. You can do it without a brake, but I prefer to do it with a brake. Just soft brake, get the nose in, use all this curb on the left-hand side. A lot of steering lock on at this point. Get to full throttle. Try and come off the steering as quick as possible to stop wheel spin. Let the car run out. As long as you have your left tires on the red and white, you're all good in terms of track limits. Hold the car on the right-hand side, and that's the end of a lap at Spa. Alright then, so that brings us towards the end of the video now. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. And you can also find the Coach Dave Academy Discord in the YouTube video description, where you can find more information about how you can get setups, more lap guides, and some advice and coaching from me and the other people at CDA. My name is Bart. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.